My name's Erik Hunter. This is my wife, Brandie.
We've been married
23 years.
23 years. We have two beautiful kids. John Hayes is a sophomore at PCS and Wesley is a freshman at Ole Miss. And we attend the Lincoln Road campus.
So I guess my story begins 2018. I began to have these weird feelings described as maybe a panic attack. They turned into these focal seizures. I would completely zone out.
He would walk around and be normal, but he wouldn't speak.
And that progressed. And like most men, I was stubborn. Sweep it on the rug. Oh, you're fine. This is temporary. It'll go away. I was at lunch one day with some friends and having a conversation, and it happened. Of course, when they happened, I never remembered. And they said, Erik, you need to go to the doctor. Something's wrong with you. One of my customers came by one day, told him what was going on. And he said, I need to get you in for an MRI. And he did. Ultimately, about 3 hours later, he comes back to my office and signaled he's outside and said, Erik, there's something there. And I don't want to scare you, but there's a tumor in your temporal lobe. From there, we ended up at the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio, one of the top hospitals in the country. It specialized in my diagnosis. And I had 3 seizures in my sleep that night. And they came in the next morning and said, the tumor's got to come out. It's causing all your problems. I'd ask why a lot after I've had a lot of death in my family. My father was 54. My mother died when she was 59. Most recently, my brother, Chuck, who was 49. And then when I got the news, I was 47. And I was like, starting to see a cycle here. Some really emotional times. And, for the kids, they ask a lot of questions. They ask a lot of what if. And I said, look, at this point, we know who's in control. And I didn't just lay it at his feet. And I laid it at his feet and just wrapped my arms around him. And as we left that day, I told him everything's gonna be fine. Dad's gonna be fine because we knew who was in control.
Our friends were just so wonderful and supportive, and we realized after all that just how important it is to have praying friends, somebody to hold you accountable, somebody to be there for you. And it's just, I have a group called the Prayer Warriorettes. There's 12 of us, and we always pray for each other. And so that was really my support system during everything. So I really needed and loved having them.
And we got to the hospital, and I think 6:30 that morning they rolled me back. And I was staring down a 6-hour major brain surgery.
It was just very peaceful. It was so calming. I mean, God just really had his hand on it, the whole thing. I mean, it was amazing. Just our prayers were being answered, and just watching everything God was doing was just little miracles all along the way.
Next thing I know, I guess 6.5 hours later, I opened my eyes in the recovery room. And I'm sorry. And I said, I want to go. But when I opened my eyes, Brandie was standing there with a big smile, and the whole team, the surgeon. And he said, do you know your name? And I said, yeah, Erik. Do you know where you are? I said, the Cleveland Clinic. You know why you were here? And that was probably within 4 hours of the surgery. And the next morning, they had me walking down the hall.
I leaned on God so much through this journey and not knowing exactly what was happening. And now looking back, I'm like, wow, God really had a plan for us. And after school one day, my son called me and said, can you meet me to eat? He was in the parking lot and he came straight to the car, and he was kind of teary-eyed and told me that he just was really on fire for Jesus, and he just really wanted to be baptized as soon as possible. So that night I told Wesley, I called her, she was in Oxford, and I said, your brother called me and told me he was ready to be baptized. We need to find a weekend that you'll be home. And she said, Mom, that's crazy. She said, I had been emailing the church for 2 weeks and I hadn't told y'all about that. So it was just really a special day that they both came together and were baptized together that day.
I had time to think how everything happened and all the miracles, all the doors that opened, and it hit me. I said, God, I'm going to ask you why, but it's different this time. Why did you pull me through it? Was I deserving? Maybe this was just his purpose, for me to share my story of victory through him and hope that everybody can grow their relationship and just know that there is hope.